future by women for women, and it's interesting that the panel that preceded that session is the first one that we had on the stage. We had equal representation of men and women. I just noticed that, and to follow up on that, we are going to invite on stage a venture partner at Kalaari Capital and group co-founder of the Glamm group. She is also the CEO of Good Media Company, and under that position, she now leads digital media brands like Popexo, Scoopu, and Miss Malini. Presenting to you, Priyanka Gill. Welcome, ma'am.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Seems we smoke here. Have you all had lunch? Yes? No? Well, I won't keep you that long then. So I've been given a very interesting topic, and it talks about a future for women. I think we can all agree on that. Women need a future, as does everyone else. Yes, no? Very quiet. And do women need a future or not? Yes or no? Thank you. The question is, it's a future for women, it's a future by women, and my contention is it's also by some innovative men as well. And let me explain what I mean. The second part of the topic talks about through innovation, which I agree with. It also says through empowerment. You know, I have a problem with the word empowerment. Empowerment means that someone is giving something to someone, right? And I feel that women are already empowered, we already are, and I don't think it's something that needs to be given to us, which is why I kind of just slashed through that. And before I get into what I'm going to say later, I want to talk about two terms. We talk about equality for women. Right? Again, that's something that actually is frankly meaningless. Equality means two people get the same thing. Right? So that's equality. What I really believe is what we need is equity, which means that we recognize the circumstances where we all come from, and then we all get the tools we need to reach the same outcome. Right? Imagine that there's a tree that has to be climbed, and there's a tall guy, there's a tall ladder and a short ladder, right? So basically, how do you get there, who gets the right ladder, who that takes them to the right goal, that is basically what equity is about. So I do feel that for women and for kind of everyone else who's an underserved section of society, I think equity is what we're basically going for. Ultimately, it's a simple claim. Women want one thing, just a level playing field. We want to play in the same race that everyone else does. There's this very famous meme, I'm sure some of you might have seen that. It just shows that you have a man running a race, and he's on a racetrack and he's just going straight. But when the woman is running, there are hurdles in front of her. The first hurdle is childcare, the second hurdle is cooking food, the third hurdle is taking care of the family. But they're both running the same race, right? The idea is how can you remove those barriers and give equity so that there's a level playing field for women. So I want to now talk about the Femtech opportunity and exactly what that is. But before that, hi, I'm Priyanka Gill. I'm a venture partner at Kalaari Capital. I founded something called Popexo around 13-14 years ago. It got acquired. I became co-founder of the Good Glamm group. And I, of course, have had lots of experience being a female founder in this ecosystem. And I've had the pleasure and the privilege of seeing it grow and evolve, and to a point where we are having this open conversation on stage today, and it's perfectly okay. So I think that's great progress. Look, it's a fact. We live in a man's world, right? And I don't think there's anyone who would disagree with that statement. It's a man's world, it's a world built by men and for men, right? And it's women, and we are basically just living in it. When you actually think about it, most technology, actually not all technology, is actually built by men for men. You have a male product manager, you have a male engineer, right? It's their perspectives that go into building the workflows and the user journeys. So you basically have technology. We live in a world where technology is there, but it's actually built by men for men, which creates some certain problems. You take e-commerce, for example, and I'm sure this is something that you all will agree with. Men and women shop differently, right? So when a woman goes shopping, she goes to a mall, she'll go to a mall with a friend. They will have coffee, they will walk around. She'll say, hey, I want to buy a black dress, she'll buy red shoes because they look cute in the window, and she'll come back. That's how women shop. It's social, and it's something that they really enjoy. Men are different. You guys want a blue shirt, you know exactly what blue shirt you want. You enter the mall, you go straight to the store, you pick up the blue shirt and you come back. Right? That's how men shop. And that's exactly how e-commerce has basically been built today. Women shop socially, right? And they look for discovery, they look for serendipity. And men are kind of really, really directed and targeted. They know exactly what they want. And if you think about it, e-commerce today is built to replicate the male shopping journey, which basically means that you have 50% of the audience that's forced to behave like the other half, right? Women are forced to act like men while shopping differently. And when you think about this, it actually has a deep economic impact. Imagine there was a way that kind of intuitively online allowed women to shop the way that they actually want to shop. Which is what I mean, we live in a man's world, technology is built by men, for men. That's the status today, but it also gives us a huge opportunity to make a big difference. And let me make the case for that. Right? This idea of forcing women to act like men while shopping really makes no economic sense. Because women represent half the spending power of the country. Right? Half the money that gets spent today is actually in the hands of women. So if you're a smart project manager, if you're a smart founder, why would you try and replicate the female shopping journey and kind of build for her? And not make them kind of conform to a male design world. So I want to kind of say that it is now time for change. And I think all of us at their technology exists to a point where we can actually provide directed user experiences. Today in the world of AI, every user should shop the way that he or she wants to shop and not be forced to kind of shop like the other half. Femtech is solutions that are built for women. It's really, really as simple as that. And it is one of the most underserved sectors that we have today. And you know, it goes beyond just simply pinkifying a product, right? Half the time when you have a razor for a man, you want to sell it to a woman to make the packaging pink. And that's really not good enough, because the way that men shave and women shave is inherently very, very different. And just by kind of making it pink, you actually make it more expensive. So the pink tax is real, which again makes absolutely zero sense. So I think we need to kind of really build a primary ecosystem of products that are there for women, right? And again, I want to reiterate, don't do it because it's the right thing to do, because it is the right thing to do, but do it because it makes economic sense. There's a strong case why you need to build for women in the first and the primary sense, not just build for them because you already built for men. The stats are actually out there. 78% of women own bank accounts, 57% of them have a fantastic credit score, 54% of them have access to mobile phones, 50% of them shop online. So that's your target audience that most of kind of e-commerce and most digital spaces are ignoring right now, which doesn't make sense. And if you think about it, it actually might well be the future of technology, right? Traits like empathy, sympathy, that humanness, things that we recognize as inherently female traits are basically what's going to be the saving grace for AI, right? We really want our AI models to be developed in a world where all of those things are really recognizable for them, right? AI basically understands whatever it sees. If it sees a world full of division, it sees a world full of bias, that's what it's going to become, right? So I think so right now we have an opportunity to build with empathy and build with that female instinct as much as we build with the male instinct right now. And yeah, it's a market gap willing to be filled. It's not, again, as I we don't do it because it's there for feminism or for equality or whatever, do it because you make money doing it. And just coming to what we do at Kalaari Capital, we have something called the CXX initiative, in which we back companies that are led by women. And if there are any female entrepreneurs here in the audience, I'm around, I'm Priyanka at Kalaari.com. Please reach out to me, I'd love to talk to you. We've kind of invested in Herky, which is a job platform for women, which kind of celebrates women coming back to work after a break. We also invested in Lakshmi, which is a fintech app, especially for women. Think about it, right? The way that women deal with finances and the way that men deal with finances is so different, right? But then if you look at all the big fintech apps out there, you're making women act like men on them. Women are looking for different things when they're kind of trying to save. Women are actually better savers than men, right? So Lakshmi, the case of Lakshmi is actually very, very strong. I mean, you take any part of the internet, take how cars are kind of, how you look for cars online, and all women will tell you when they are going through kind of the website that can compare cars, it doesn't speak to us, right? It's kind of talking on the parameters that actually reflect men. We actually look for other parameters as well. Right? So right in the beginning, if you're able to recognize your user as female, are you able to provide her a unique experience that reflects her rather than making her act like a man? I think there's a lot of money to be made in that. So yeah, I want to kind of invite you guys to join kind of women and all of us in kind of shaping the future of technology, because I definitely do believe that the future is bright and the future is most definitely female. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm more than happy to take questions actually. I think there's some mics in the audience. Yeah? Yeah, so if there's someone, please to raise hands. Happy to take questions. There's a hand up right there.
First of all, thank you, Priyanka, for bringing this up. My name is Deepali and I am the Group CMO at CQ Group, and I worked with IBM before this. You know, the other thing that this is a comment and a question, is just like you spoke about fintech, femtech, and you know, the way women shop, the leadership models inside corporate organizations are also based only on male cohorts. So next time you're presenting, please talk about that, you know, so that we have more women coming up the chain, more women therefore as CEOs and more women, you know, on the boards. But that's my question to you also. You know, why are we not doing something to have more women on boards?
You know, I think that's a great question. And you know, if you look at the system from the bottom up, you know, think about it, guys. Again, let me just kind of go back to the startup world. How are startups formed? There are three men. Yeah, they were in college together. One of them becomes an engineer. One of them decides to start a company. The third one becomes an investor. Many years later, the founder says, "Yeah, you know, I want to raise money." The one guy gives him money, the other guy becomes his engineer. So then have this automatic network that they can just tap onto and start companies. Because all the IITs of the world are predominantly kind of built out by men. Women don't have access to those networks. It's inherently harder for a woman to start in business, and it's even harder for her to kind of climb up the ladder to reach corporate roles and to reach board roles as well. And this is my contention to all the men I have in the room out here. How many times do you enter a meeting where there are no women there? Especially if you're a client, when you go and attend a meeting somewhere and there's no woman on the table, why are you even there? Do you bring it up? How many times do you see conscious or unconscious bias happening in front of you to a female colleague and you don't bring it up? Every time we keep quiet, that's where the problem starts. You know, all it takes is for good men and women to keep quiet. So, for there to be equal spaces created at the top leadership level, to your question, I really feel that we need to all do our part for it. It's men, women, it's being conscious about it. And in today's day and age, there's absolutely no reason why that should not be the imperative, why that should not be the case. The onus is also on women. We need to speak up. We need to occupy space. We need to stand up and say, hey, that is not okay. I'll give you a small example. I was once in a meeting where the external CEO of the company kept referring to all the other people in the meeting as, you know, sir, that's a really good thing, sir, that's a really good thing. But when you think about it, the women on that meeting really felt excluded because the men were able to bond with each other with the use of the word sir. Women didn't have access to that bonding, right? And I brought it up, and I just think this is just not fair. I told the CEO separately, you shouldn't really talk like that. It's these small unconscious biases that we kind of go through and we allow them to perpetuate. That's where the problem starts. So I think, hey, it's up to us, and what we don't need is empowerment. We just need to basically speak up and occupy as much space as we can. Thank you. Any more questions?
Hi.
Hello.
Hey Priyanka, I'm Radhika Mata. I work as a matchmaker and a dating coach.
Excellent.
And my understanding of the market right now is that, of course, we have less than 30% women on apps. They don't really feel safe. It feels like, you know, 1 out of every 5 people is anyway going to be assaulted in some way or the other. So it's really unsafe out there. question is, what's your take on dating at workplace? Have you encountered incidents of your portfolio companies having a policy or take yes, no, where? I also ask this because I do understand that a lot of women are no longer looking for somebody who's just a provider, and that's the reason it's so much more important to meet somebody who's also a companion in all sense.
Yes, I hear two parts to your question, and I'll answer both of them separately. Look, dating apps for women are a problem. They're also, again, a huge opportunity, right? There have been folks who've tried to do this truly madly, which is run by a friend of mine. He really tried to solve for safety for women on apps. But it is a problem, right? And how do you do that? I mean, that's going to be a $1 billion thing that someone's basically going to solve. But coming to your second point, and I'll just talk about my own organization, which is Exo and the Glamm group. We have a very simple policy, right? If two people feel that they are in a relationship, they just need to come and tell HR. And HR will basically make sure that the reporting lines are clean. And that's it. We live in a world where we are adults. And it's perfectly okay, right? Most of us spend most of our waking hours at work. Right? Where else are you going to find a partner if not there? There's quite a high probability that you will. And I think organizations today need to take a modern outlook at it. And I think the team members need to just speak up, let the organization know, and just make sure that the reporting lines are clear. It's really, really as simple as that. So I've had some kids, I call them kids now, they're kind of over 30. They started at Exo, and I think 3-4 of them are married to each other. They spend most of their kind of 20s together. That's perfectly okay. Yes, please. I'd love a man to ask me a question. It's also good. I'd love to answer your question too.
Hi, I'm Shahin and I'm representing Bangalore Bioinnovation Center. It's not a question, but it's a request. See, we generally talk about human-centric innovations. That is well and good, but the need of the hour is women-centric innovations. Most of the products are not meant for women. Take for example, the car, the seat belt of car. So it is not meant for women, and it was being tested by human male mannequin. When accident happens, 47% of chances for women to get hurt than a man. Likewise, even the ACs also, it's not meant for women. So as a venture capitalist, I request you, whenever some startup comes to you, to make sure that that women-centric element should also be there.
100%, that's exactly the point of this, right? You need to design for women.
Yes.
All of us live in the same world, and this car thing is a very important point, right?
Yes.
It's a risk to physical safety when an accident happens, and because the way that the seatbelt sits on you, it's more likely to compress the chest cavity of a woman than of a man, just because of where the seatbelt sits on them. So absolutely, I'm 100% for that. We at Kalaari Capital are very, very conscious of it. That's why we have CXO, which actually invests in women that are building companies. Also.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. There's a lady there? Yes.
Hi. So please.
I'm not representing the men here, but thank you. It was a very thought-provoking session, and I completely agree with what she said about seatbelts, because I don't go on road trip with my wife because of the same reason. It was 5 hours. And I think I'll be looking at apps very differently now. Thank you. But when I look at my upbringing and the parents in the last generation, there's so much programming. Like when I got married the first couple of years, I was just doing stuff because I had seen how things, and then I was woken up. But how do you? I'm completely behind this mission. But how do you attempt to start conversations about change, which is so cultural, which is so deep, which is so rooted in male superiority over generations?
That's a I'm sorry, I didn't catch you. Ashish, that's a fantastic question, right? And I think the first thing starts off with just awareness, So when you say go to a meeting, just take a time just to see what's happening in the room, right? Are the men talking over the women? Are the extroverts talking over the introverts? If you are the person leading the meeting, what can you do to basically include them? So So I think all of us have generations worth of imprinting that we went through, right? And I think this first thing is just to be aware of it. Second thing is to just kind of just say to yourself that, hey, my values are different now, right? I am not the 100% product of my upbringing. I take agency, I control who I am today. I choose to be who I am today. And I am someone who will not stand up for this, right? All of us here are basically doing something really interesting. We kind of work in multi-level teams with many, many different people. Can we just be a little bit more empathetic, right? And I think if you're able to basically do that, I think that's going to be the beginning of a lot of change. It's every single voice in every single meeting that talks for a small change that's going to make a big difference. Right? So again, all of us, we are founders in the room, you guys will be starting organizations, you guys will be running companies, you guys will be running teams. We have all kinds of stakeholders from the government in the room as well. I really feel that's really up to us at an individual level to really just be conscious, be aware, and just say, hey, we just need to kind of make sure that everyone's actually playing on the same field. I've been in meetings where, I've been trying, where they said, hey, let someone else talk. Excuse me, I'd like to say what I have to say. Say it politely. Say it with humor if you want, but just make sure that you say your piece. Just don't get silenced because someone else wants to take your space. So, it's hard. I think awareness and just kind of that little bit of courage just to say, hey, stop. This is not okay. Basically, it's that. And I'm sure all of us have sisters and daughters. I have a young daughter who's 14 years old. I really want to give her a world in which someone like me doesn't have to stand on a stage like this and talk about it, right? And I'm sure it'll happen in our lifetime if we all work towards it.
Brilliant. We have one more question from the leader. Yes, please stand up, ma'am. Yes.
Hello. So my question was, the world is opening up in a very big way for women, but like how you mentioned, it's more easier for women to do the 9 to 5, to make space for a place where men were there before, and now we have space for women as well. But I feel like when we want to go out there and exercise all of our vulnerabilities and everything, so we don't have that kind of support. So we term it as difficult women, or you don't know what she's doing. Like, I'm trying to do a business for I think 5 years, and half of the people in my family don't know what she's doing. Like, she's a medical student. What's she doing? What's she talking about business?
I hear you been there, done that, got the medal. Try explaining to your parents you're running a website for content that will make money in the future. Then try explaining to them, oh, we raised like $250 million, we're going to buy 10 companies in a year, and we're going to do this. Like, it is virtually impossible to explain to people what you have to do. So, I'll tell you what and also like this whole idea of doing things in a certain order, right? My life has not been that. So I'll tell you what I personally follow. It might not make sense to you. One is, I just stopped looking for permission, right? If you're interested in what I am doing, great, I would love to tell you about it. If not, great. Like, I don't need your permission to do what I would like to do, because no man actually goes out and asks for permission. Right? Or most of the men here might be here on a work trip, right? Because you are away from where you live. I'm on a work trip as well. I have one daughter who's here with me. I have one son who's in London. I know exactly where she is. I know exactly where he is. I know what she's going to have for lunch. I know what he's going to have for dinner. I'm constantly aware in my head. Men don't have that problem, right? When men travel, they have someone at home who's making sure that the kids are fed and watered, right? So it is a different world. So number one I would say is just stop asking for permission. It's fine. You're an adult, I'm an adult, we are going to do what we have to do. Second is, I would just let go of anything that's conditioned. I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do this because I am a wife, a mother, a sister, a daughter, a woman. Just do what you have to do. And I think once you stop, you really believe that you don't need permission, then the world is your oyster. Right? I stopped asking for permission many years ago, and that really simplified my life a lot. Of course, you have to live within the system and within the family and all, but do what you have to do, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Priyanka, and thank you for ending on that very empowering note. And to present the token of our appreciation to her, I'd like to bring on stage Ms. Surya Tankam, manager of Chemistry Division.
Thank you so much.
And just like our last slide mentioned, the future is bright because the future demands collaboration from both genders to making it more female and inclusive.